So we're working on this upgrade project for the banister and railing, and my neighbor and friend is excellent at working with particle board and knows what he's doing, how to build these, helped me build this. So it's coming together nicely. It's got a nice updated look to it. We're still not done yet. We got to add a few trim pieces and add a top cap to it. But as you can see, we just kind of built this pillar from scratch using a 2x4 and some pieces of wood and little pieces of plywood just to get the right exact width. Because the tricky thing about our house is when you open the door, it's almost right in the way when you open the door. So we had to build a custom one, and we had to bring it back a little bit on top of this slanted part of the wall. We have one of those split level homes, and that makes it tricky to fit. And so as you can see, when I open the door right here, it just barely misses. And it was like that with the old one too. The old one was just very close to it. And so we did have the old one in place, and we were just going to wrap it with wood and nail it onto the existing one, but that wouldn't have worked because then after we wrapped it, the door would have been hitting it. So we had to tear it out and make a custom one. We even had to patch the tile a little bit, where the old one used to be. But it's going to be nice. It's going to look a lot more modern and nice looking. We're going to put a top cap and stain it with nice dark wood color. But we still got the upper one to do. Got a bunch of tools up there, but we put a new little MDF white trim right there that looks nicer than it did before. We used to have just like a little piece of light wood color trim there, but I like the white better. So we're going to change that pillar out where the coat's hanging there and replace the railing and baluster on that as well. So still in progress here, but it's coming together. It's going to be nice. So we just barely put a coat of polyurethane on the railings here. As part of the process of updating our house, we are updating our banisters. The railings that we used to have were this kind of yellow looking oak color, just this light yellowish oak color with polyurethane on it. So we tore all those out, and I'm going to sell them or donate them. And then I got some new railings that didn't have any polyurethane on them, so I didn't have to do as much sanding. Picked up these railings at the Habitat for Humanity Restore, and they didn't have any polyurethane on them. We just had to sand them a little bit and clean them up a little bit, and then make the cuts in the right places. And we used a stain on them called a Kona color wood stain, and we just barely put a coat of polyurethane on them now. We're letting it dry. We're going to put a second coat on here in about an hour. So we're installing some railing here, and the way you're able to find some measurements is the code says it's supposed to be between 32 and 34 inches. Installing some railing here, we decided to move it. The railing used to be on this side, but it makes it complicated to attach the railing going up the stairs. To attach to this pillar, you get some really complicated angles you have to make. So we decided just to make a separate railing that goes on this side of the stairs, and then when we're done with this pillar, we're going to have some railing and balusters that go right here in between. So anyway, when we're working on the railing here, the code says you're supposed to be between 32 and 34 inches from the top of the nose of the stair right here. Measure 32 inches to the top of the railing, 32 to 34 inches to the top of the railing where you'll be holding it. So this takes up about 2 inches from that middle dot where the screw goes in to the top of this is about 2 inches, and then the railing I have is about 2 inches thick, so you have to subtract 4 inches. So 2 plus 2 is 4. So we have to measure from the top of the nose to this point where you're going to be screwing it in is actually 28 inches, because it's going to be, we want it to be 28 plus 2 is 30, plus 2 is 32, so then we'll have it at 32 inches. I want it at 32 inches rather than 34 because as we come down the stairs here, you'll notice there's some switches right there, and if we had it at 34 inches, then the railing would kind of be right in the way of the switches, and so it's just barely going to clear it as it is. So it's going to come right here, the railing's going to be right in that area. So we chose to go on the 32 inches rather than the 34, so the railing wouldn't be right in front of the switches. Anyway, so I took measurements from the nose of the stair up 28 inches, and then I drew a bunch of points. I used this metal ruler. I watched a video where they used a level, which probably will give you a little bit more accurate measurements, but this ruler, if I set it flat on the stairs, and I measure up to 28 inches, I can make dots so there's a dot right there that I made. And then, so I made dots on I made a little dot on the wall every 28 inches where, on the nose of the stairs where the ruler would line up. And so I made a dot there, you know, you see dots where I made them where the stairs line up. So anyway, making those dots, then I was able to take the ruler and then line them up here and kind of get the best average of where all the dots should meet. A few of them were slightly off just a little bit because I didn't use a level. You can use a level. I like the ruler method. It was a little easier. So I just held it up and found the average of where all the dots meet. And then I drew a line. And then I also used a stud sensor to know where to draw the line. So I didn't want to draw a line across the entire wall. I just barely kind of repainted this wall, so I didn't want to draw a line on the entire thing. So I took a stud sensor and found out where my studs were, and then I knew that's where I wanted to draw my line. So I drew those little hash marks. You can see where the studs are. And if you come down here, there's another stud right there. So that stud I marked with those little hash marks, and then that shows me where I was supposed to draw that angled line with the ruler that lines up with all the dots. So I did little hash marks, and then I did the little angled line close to where I thought the studs were, and then I put a little dot where I could potentially put a screw to hold in the brackets. So I did that here too. You can see there's a little angled line. This actually has a wide 2 or 3 studs in a row, so there's a line right there, and there's a line right here. You can't see underneath this, but I put this on the edge of the last stud there and screwed it in. So before I screwed it in, I just used a small little pilot hole drill, drilled a little pilot hole, and then screwed in that. And it's not completely tight yet. I still haven't put the railing on, so it's firm, but I can still move it a little bit, so that when I put the railing on, I can adjust this for the exact angle when it's actually touching the railing, and the railing will sit on there. I left this tight enough that it's not like just falling down, but it's movable still, so it's firm but still movable, so I can adjust the angle for when I actually put the railing on. And I did the same with this one. This one's in there firm, but I can still move it a little bit. And you can see there was a line there, and there's a stud hash mark, and I put it right in the middle of the stud after drilling the pilot hole. So that's how I was able to line up the railing, and I think it will be nice. We'll get the railing installed, and I'll see how sturdy it is with just the 2 brackets. As you can see, I marked 2 other stud locations. I could put a bracket there and a bracket there, so I could potentially have 4 brackets on this railing. I've seen a lot of railings where they just use 2 brackets, so we should be fine just with the 2. However, if it seems like it's not sturdy enough, I could put 2 more brackets in and make it even more sturdy with using 4 brackets on 4 studs. So you just make sure you do want to for sure use a stud. I've seen people use sheetrock anchors for railings, which is okay, I suppose, but I don't think it's going to work nearly as well. As I think it's important to find a stud when you're mounting railings, because you want them to be very sturdy, so they don't fall when people are putting a lot of pressure on them. Sometimes people put quite a bit of pressure on the railings when they're using them to walk up and down the stairs. So here's the finished railings that we're going to mount in there. They were, I think I described to you earlier, there were just cheap oak unfinished railings that I got at the Habitat for Humanity Restore for very inexpensive, and then I spent a lot of time sanding them. I didn't spend that much time sanding them, but I spent a lot of time sanding and staining and finishing with polyurethane. I've got at least 4 coats of polyurethane on these, and I just wanted to stay nice looking. They turned out nice looking with the dark Kona stain and some polyurethane on them. I think they're gonna look a lot nicer than our old railings used to be, so it'd be a good update and upgrade to our home. So this is the railing I'm going to mount right here. I'll take this and let's try it on. So I got it mounted up here. I still have to put the next screw on. I couldn't film while I was doing this because I had to hold it and do this one-handed. Anyway, like I said, I had this on first, drilled a pilot hole, and just screwed that in. It's looking great. It's gonna be nice. So I'm gonna finish mounting this up here. First drill another little pilot hole here. Try to get it centered. Alright, drill another pilot hole. These are really tricky to do, but maybe I should have marked them and done it before I mounted it, but I didn't know exactly where it was going to be, so I just decided to drill the pilot holes in place here. Alright, let's try that again. Get this screwed in. Very good. Awesome. Is that gonna work? Awesome.